Hello, everybody, and welcome to our first ever non-podcast episode YouTube video. Um, this video will be on the NBA trade deadline and all the moves that were made yesterday. We were recording this Friday, March 26th. The deadline was yesterday, Thursday, March 25th. There were some pretty big moves. Before I forget, I'm joined as always by my partner here, Logan. Logan, say what's up to the people.
What's up, everybody?
So yeah, this should be a little quick episode, not episode, video. Um, we didn't include every single trade that went down yesterday. We're just talking about the major ones. There were a couple minor, moves here and there, but really, in the grand scheme of things, they're not going to make that much of a difference. Um, so yeah, let's get right into it. If you're watching on YouTube, you definitely are. Like, subscribe, comment down below what you thought of the NBA trade deadline. So let's get right into it with the probably the biggest move, an all-star move. Nikola Vucevic has been traded from the Orlando Magic to the Chicago Bulls for Wendell Carter Jr., Otto Porter, and 2 first-round picks. Al-Farouq Aminu also went to Chicago with Vucevic. But Vucevic is obviously the main talking point of that trade. I think I like it for the Bulls. I like pairing him up with Levine. I'm interested to see how that duo works out.
Yeah, I mean, in the short term, this is a great deal for the Bulls. They gave up 2 firsts, which is possible to hurt, but I think they are lottery protected, which is good. And then Wendell Carter, I mean, he's a promising young player, but he's obviously not going to turn into Vucevic. And getting an all-star to pair with Zach LaVine is definitely what they wanted to do to make a playoff push. I think they're in the 10th seed right now, so they're in the play-in tournament, but you don't want to just be in there. And then the East is super weak, so I could see them moving up to maybe like the 6th seed, something around there.
Yeah.
Um, it is a little scary because I mean, I think Vooch has 2 years on his deal, and then after that, I mean, I'm not sure what's going to happen if they're going to re-sign him or what.
Yeah, he's 30 right now, so that
Yeah,
might play into effect. But right now, I think it's a great move.
yeah,
The golden rule I feel like right now in the NBA is you need 2 all-stars to truly win. Um, and I mean, they went out and got that. And yes, they are 2 of the lower level all-stars. They're still all-stars, but I think it's I think Vucevic stretches out that team. Just more 3-point shooting, and then he's averaging what, like 24 and 11 or 12, whatever he's averaging. That's phenomenal numbers, and should be interesting to see what the Bulls do this for the rest of this season. They're a young team, but adding him, I think, vaults them into a better spot in the play-in tournament at least.
yeah. And then Orlando's side of things, I mean, I didn't really expect them to give up Vooch, to be honest, but they've been in the position where it's like they're either like the 8th seed or just in the like the worst lottery position, and you
Yeah.
don't want to be there at all.
Mm-hmm.
So I think full reset, good idea for them. They get Wendell Carter, who is a young player, and they get those 2 firsts, which they could be good. I mean, I don't think they're going to be super high, but they could turn into something.
Yeah.
But I just like that they're finally blowing it up because they were stuck in the probably the worst spot in the NBA.
Yeah. And speaking of blowing it up, they also gave up Evan Fournier to the Boston Celtics for 2 second-round picks. Again, they're in full rebuild mode. For the Celtics, I really like this move. Fournier is having a really good season. He's obviously not going to put up the same numbers he was with the Magic. He was their number 2 guy, whereas the Celtics, I'd say, have 3 guys at least ahead of Fournier, in Tatum, Brown, and Kemba. So I could definitely see him if they choose to put him at 6 man. I think he'd be a great guy to lead that bench unit. We're still not sure if what they're gonna do with Marcus Smart. Fournier might play the starting shooting guard position, and they have Brown at small forward and Tatum at power forward. We don't really know how that's gonna work out, but I really like Fournier as kind of the leading bench guy for the Celtics.
Yeah, I like him in that 6-man spot. The Celtics have obviously a really good starting 5 minus I guess the center position, but then their bench is just kind of lacking on basically every aspect. So anybody that you can get will help. I thought that the Celtics would be a little bit more of buyers than just Evan Fournier, but he's a
Yeah,
really good player, and I mean, he's going to help them. So 2 second-round picks.
I think that's a steal for
Yeah,
what they're
why
going to
not
get
give
out of
that
him.
up?
Yeah, I like that move for the Celtics, and then obviously the Magic are pretty much dismantling everything.
Yeah.
Segues into our next trade, which was Aaron Gordon from the Magic to the Nuggets for Gary Harris, RJ Hampton, and a first round pick. Those aren't scrubs. RJ Hampton's a young guy that I think if he gets more playing time, he could start showing flashes here and there. But dude, the Nuggets look like they're trying to get something done this year. I like
Yeah.
it.
I like it too. Aaron Gordon needed a change of scenery. He's been asking for a trade for the last like 4 years. And I mean, he's kind of been a stagnant player where he hasn't really improved a ton, but I think that's because the Magic haven't really put him in a position to do that. And I really like him on a potential championship team or one that's going to try to at least.
Yeah.
So yeah, I like this. And then for Orlando, yeah, they got back RJ Hampton, who is, yeah, he's still a promising player who hasn't really gotten a chance to do anything. They got a first round pick, and then Gary Harris hasn't done a ton this year, but he's a very good defensive player. And I think maybe if he like teaches Markel Fultz or something,
Yeah.
mentors him, I mean, an older guy like that can help with a young team, even if it's not really on the court. So I like this for both sides.
Yeah. The Nuggets quietly, Jokic is his MVP candidate self. Jamal Murray can go out and get you buckets. Michael Porter Jr. has looked really good the past couple weeks, and then adding Aaron Gordon to kind of shore up that whole starting five. They're going to be there. I think they're around the 5th or 6th seed right now in the West, but
They started off really bad, so
yeah, but
they're
I
getting a lot better.
I see them coming on, and the West is just ridiculous at this point.
Yeah.
So who knows? But the Nuggets look like they're in good shape as long as Aaron Gordon can fit that mold that they're creating in Denver. The next trade, also with the Nuggets, they went out and got JaVale McGee from the Cleveland Cavaliers for 2 second-round picks and Isaiah Hartenstein. They're just adding big man depth, I think, behind Jokic. JaVale's solid. He's not going to go out and get you points necessarily, but obviously he's a big guy. He'll get rebounding. He's decent on defense, but it's just depth at this point for the Nuggets.
Yeah, I'm a Cavs fan, so I watch JaVale every day as a backup, and I think he's perfect to back up Jokic. I mean, he's probably gonna get like 15 minutes a game, but
Yeah.
that's all he needs. And I think he's underrated on defense. Offensively, he can be a lob threat. He's really athletic, tall. I know he's the Shaqtin' a Fool guy, but recently he's kind of been going under the radar. He was just on a championship team for the last like 4 seasons.
He played a big role with that Lakers team too. Like that, no
Yeah,
one
and the
really.
Warriors.
Him and Dwight Howard last year. I mean, that's just a separate thing. But JaVale McGee has played solid roles recently, so it's not
Yeah.
like he's just some scrub that they're adding to the bench.
Yeah, so I like that for the Nuggets. And then on the Cavs side of things, Isaiah Hartenstein fits their, I guess, rebuilding age. He's only 22 years old, and he hasn't really shown a ton, but he also hasn't really gotten any minutes. So backup for Jarrett Allen, good move for them. And then they got 2 seconds. So rebuilding team, good for both sides.
Yeah. Next move was Norman Powell traded the Trailblazers for Gary Trent and Rodney Hood. Powell's having a career year. He was with the Raptors. I don't think the numbers continue. Obviously, with Dame and CJ ahead of him, Powell. We'll see what they do with him. I think it'd be nice to see him off the bench with that unit. But we'll see. He could slide in at small forward for them. But I think he's been super underrated scorer this year.
Yeah, since starting, I think he's averaging like 24 points per game on insane efficiency. I think he's like 45% from three. And I mean, the Blazers, obviously, they have Dame and CJ as their main offensive weapons, but now they can play two of these three guys that they now have basically all the time. And I think Norman Powell is probably going to start at small forward. So that's a pretty small 1, 2, 3 for them. But I mean, I think offensively, it's pretty insane. So I like that. And Norman Powell has been very underrated. So
And that team's pretty offense heavy, that Trailblazers
yeah,
team. So it fits what they're doing.
yeah. And then Gary Trent, I mean, I think he was pretty solid for them, but he's on a 1 year until I think you have to pay him, and I don't think they're gonna really want to pay him. So 1 year rental each way or either way, unless you pay them. And Norman Powell's definitely an upgrade, so I like it.
Yeah, and I think Gary Trent will get paid this
Yeah,
offseason
he
just
will.
because of how he played while CJ was out. So we'll see what the Raptors do. Kyle Lowry is also on an expiring deal. It looks like that team's highly competitive days may be coming to an end. Next up, Rajon Rondo is back in LA, but with the Clippers. He was traded for Lou Williams, cash, considerations, and 2 second-round picks. I really like this move for the Clippers. It seems like they have enough scoring, so they don't really need Lou Will, but they were really missing that guy to lead the offense. Obviously, Kawhi and Paul George, they're superstars, but Patrick Beverley's not a point guard that's going to go out and facilitate. Whereas Rondo is kind of the perfect facilitating point guard. I like
Yeah,
it for the Clippers.
I really like it for the Clippers, and they did not have a playmaker, like you said, and that's basically what Kawhi's been asking for. So Rondo's perfect for that. And also, I mean, he just won a championship last year as the second ball handler next to LeBron, and that's a really important spot. And you just won a championship, so yeah, he's still super valuable. He's not super young, but they don't need someone super young. And I think they have like the worst offense at the end of games in the
Yeah,
entire NBA.
they're not good in the clutch this season.
Yeah, and Rondo's perfect for that. I mean, if you want to play, he's probably like one of the smartest people in the NBA. So
Yeah.
he can help with that. And then also in the playoffs, playoff Rondo, he steps up his game every year somehow. So I really like this move.
And for the Hawks, I mean, Lou Will, it's the same kind of situation you talked about with Gary Harris. I feel like he's going to go in there. That team's pretty young, kind of a mentor type guy for Trae Young. I don't know, help him with his shooting percentages, maybe, hopefully. um, but yeah, I think it's a big win for the Clippers.
Yeah. And Lou Will, he said, I think this year, if he gets traded, he's retiring.
Yeah.
But I feel like that's probably just something he's saying because
He was capping, he was bluffing.
I think he just didn't want to get traded, or maybe thought if he said that, then nobody would trade for him. But we'll see what happens because that's an interesting situation.
Yeah. One of the bigger moves came pretty late in the deadline. I think it was announced right after the time, for the deadline was up because, trades can kind of trickle down if they're already in motion. But Victor Oladipo was traded from the Rockets to the Heat for Avery Bradley, Kelly Olynyk, and a pick swap. Dude, the Heat didn't give up anything for a guy who's going to help them a lot.
Yeah. I mean, Pat Riley did exactly what he should have done and said, look, I mean, Oladipo wants to come here next year. If you trade him anywhere else, they know that he wants to come here next year. So either you get nothing or you get these scraps that I'm giving you. And that's what happened. And I mean, I think from both sides it was smart, even though the Rockets didn't get anything really back, they got something, and that's the point. They're not winning, obviously, and he's not re-signing there. So yeah, I like his fit with the Heat. He's wanted to go there because I mean the culture around it is like perfect for him. His defensive mindset is, I mean, it fits exactly with guys like Jimmy Butler. And then offensively, he hasn't been as good this year, but I think getting put in a position where you're like maybe the third option, maybe the second, is really good. The Heat are a scary team, so
Yeah.
I'm excited for what they do in the playoffs again.
And it makes you think, why didn't the Rockets just keep Karis LeVert? Like that's a young guy that goes with their kind of what their
They really
direction they're
messed up.
going. And they got Oladipo and he's out of there. And it
They
seemed
could have
like,
got Jarrett Allen too.
yeah, Allen, LeVert, imagine having all those guys with Christian Wood. Like, I don't know. But instead they get Kelly Olynyk and Avery Bradley, who knows. But I mean, the whole talk with the Heat was they're going to have to give up Duncan Robinson or Tyler Hero if they're going to make a move. And they figured it out to where they didn't have to. So great
Yeah.
move for the Heat.
Kelly
Definitely.
Olynyk's been good this year, but I don't think anybody on the Heat is sad to see him go.
No, especially when for Oladipo. And Avery Bradley
Yeah.
played barely any games for them.
Yeah.
So I think it's far and away a win for the Heat.
Yeah.
Next move, one of the smaller moves we're talking about, JJ Redick has been traded to the Mavericks for James Johnson, Wes Iwundu, and a second-round pick. I mean, veteran shooter to kind of go with Doncic and Porzingis. That team is so confusing. because they've got talent, but they just can't do anything with it. I mean, JJ Redick has made the playoffs all but one season in his career. So maybe he'll bring in something to the table. Obviously, he'll bring his shooting to the table, but you got to think some of it is that veteran kind of leadership.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I'm happy that he got traded because if he didn't, he was probably going to get bought out and then go to the Nets. And I'm
We don't want
look,
that.
I'm not trying to like hate on the Nets getting more guys, but like
They've got
I
enough.
want it to be competitive this season. I don't
Yeah.
want another Warrior situation. And yeah, I'm just glad he got traded somewhere else. And the Mavs, they had Seth Curry last year, and he was really good for them. And maybe JJ can try to slot into that position. I don't know if he's really going to be able to do that. He's getting pretty old, but this is kind of the first season he hasn't had like 40 plus shooting from the 3-pointer. So he's obviously got that in his tank. I mean, I don't know if he was just like, I want to get bought out and then move to Brooklyn or whatever, because that's what some people were speculating.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like this move for the Mavs. They didn't really give up a lot, so good for them.
It's always good to add a shooter in today's NBA. That's all we got for the trades. Now moving on, we have two buyout situations. Um, we've talked about it on the podcast for the last couple of weeks. LaMarcus Aldridge and Andre Drummond were both bought out officially or are going to get bought out. Either of those, they're not on the Spurs or the Cavs anymore. With LaMarcus Aldridge, right now it's being reported the Lakers, the Heat, the Clippers, and the Nets will get meetings with him. For the top contenders, you could argue those are the top four after the trade deadline for the NBA Finals. But I mean, it's pretty obvious he's going to go somewhere where he's going to contend for a ring, and wherever's going to get him, it's a great piece.
Yeah, he's probably signing for the veterans minimum, so any team can get him. But I think the Heat are probably the front runners. I've seen the
Yeah.
reports that he wants to go there at the power forward position. I guess right now, I think they're starting like Iguodala, who's obviously solid, but
I want Iguodala.
even if Aldridge moves into the sort of 6-man power forward role, I think he's very solid. He's obviously been a great player for so long, and he's getting old, but the Spurs didn't really want him on the team anymore, so that might be why his numbers are down. I don't think he's going to put up 18 points a game if he goes to the Heat, but I think he's a solid player still, and he can contribute to any contender. So I think every team should at least try to get him.
If he goes to the Heat, I would love to see a Nets Heat series in the playoffs.
That'd be awesome.
Two high-powered teams now, especially after what the Heat did yesterday, and obviously the Nets have the most talent, maybe ever, but definitely this season.
Offensively.
Offensively, yes, of course. But yeah, like you said, LaMarcus Aldridge is going to be a solid piece wherever he goes, and he's going to be able to go to wherever he wants. So we will see about that. And the last thing we got for this video is Andre Drummond. He has been bought out. Right now, the Lakers and the Knicks are going to be able to pitch to Andre Drummond. The Celtics, Clippers, and Hornets are interested. So he's given confirmation that he wants to talk to the Lakers and the Knicks. But those three teams, Celtics, Clippers, Hornets, are also interested. As a Lakers fan, I know you're a Cavs fan and you haven't been the biggest fan of his, but I think if he's on a winning team where he's not, one of the bigger names, I think his rebounding is so valuable, and that's obviously what the Lakers need right now with all their injuries. Marc Gasol is not getting the job done. I think he's a great fit there.
Yeah, I mean, as a Cavs fan, basically the whole franchise was just mad at Drummond because he was obviously trying to put up numbers to get paid, and that's not helping the team. And I think if he goes to a team like the Knicks, he's going to do a similar thing like that. And I really like if he would move to the Lakers because I think that people want to pay a guy who knows how to do their role and to do it well. And he obviously is going to want to get paid. So if he goes to the Lakers and he puts up 15 rebounds, but only like 10 points on good efficiency, that's what's going to get the most value out of him for the next team.
Yeah, and that's what the Lakers need. They don't need someone to go out and put up 20 and 20 because they've got two of the top 6-7 players in the league.
Yeah, I think he could do a similar thing with the Clippers. I don't know if he really wants to go there as much. I think he wants to go to the Lakers, is what all the reports are saying. But I'm excited to see what he does. I think he's very underrated on defense. I think people look at his offensive numbers and they think, oh, he's scoring a lot. He's putting up a lot of rebounds. And if you look deeper, he's scoring a lot on like 45% from the field as a center. And then you're like, oh, well, maybe he's not that good, but he's got to do his role and take the shots that he's given. And I think he's become underrated, at least value wise. So
Yeah.
I think he could do well in that situation.
Yeah, and then we'll see. All these moves are gonna have an effect on the NBA playoffs, the NBA season going forward. Looking forward to it. Had some great moves. Yeah, that's all we got. Thanks so much for watching. Remember, like and subscribe. Um, comment who you think is going to win the NBA Finals after all these moves that were made. Should be interesting. And for my partner here, Logan Ring, my name is Diego Sandoval, signing off.
Signing off.